Salesi Moa picks Tennessee over the favorite in Utah, and why this is shaping up to be maybe Josh Heupel's best recruiting class.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it, your Friday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. Today's episode, it is brought to you in part by our friends over at Gametime, where you can download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Big thank you to our friends over at Gametime. Big show today, right? Big time. I'm going to say it one more time. Big time commit for Tennessee and Josh Heupel as Salesi Moa commits to the University of Tennessee, making it the 23rd commit of the class and the 5th top 100 prospect in the class for the Volunteers. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll break down this commitment more here in segment number 1. Practice observations from these two eyeballs from practice number 2 yesterday for Tennessee football fall camp in segment number 2. And then scouting the opponent. We're going to get back to that series here in segment number 3, taking a look at the ETSU Bucks. So Salesi Moa, really big pickup here for Tennessee because, again, Tennessee was always in it. Don't get me wrong, but the favorite was always Utah. Why? Well, he is from just outside Salt Lake City, okay? His father played at Utah. I would go out on a limb here and say all of his friends, all of his family members, certainly his intermediate family, right, or immediate family is all Utah fans. But Tennessee was never out of this. Tennessee was obviously in this one. And I think playing in the Southeastern Conference was a really big deal for Moa. And Tennessee ends up beating Utah. And when you think about, like, when it comes down to it, Tennessee or Utah, a lot of people will be like, well, Southeastern Conference, Tennessee, the brand against a team like Utah, a program like Utah, and that's no disrespect to the Utes. I'm just saying, if you have your chance to go to Tennessee or Utah, odds are the top, if you're a top 50 prospect in the country, you're going to pick Tennessee. Like, it wouldn't be close normally, right? Well, this one was a bit of a different deal, okay? And, the Utes obviously were the favorite, and Tennessee just kept going, just kept persisting. And this one went up to the end. Again, there's been a couple like this, right? Braden Rouse, most notably recently. I mentioned Jordan Matthews a couple years ago. Usually, everybody knows what's going to happen before it happens, okay? Days, sometimes weeks in advance, sometimes months, but if you get that too far out, a lot of times that changes. But this, again, was one of those old school recruitments where nobody really knew kind of going up into it until the very last second before teams were kind of tipped off there at the very end. And so credit him, credit his family, and credit Tennessee and Josh Heupel. Again, this is a massive win. Why? Well, Moa is a top 46 player in the country, top 50 according to the Rivals industry rankings. He is a 4-star. Number 46 in the country, according to the Rivals industry rankings. The second-ranked athlete. Tennessee now has the second and third-ranked athletes in the country. And Joel Wyatt, who just committed to Tennessee a couple of days ago, and now Salesi Moa. And the number 1 prospect out of the state of Utah. He's ranked number 49 specifically in the Rivals rankings, number 45 according to 247 Sports, and number 35 according to ESPN. The number 1 ranked prospect in the state of Utah for Rivals and 247, and the second ranked athlete for Rivals, the 4th ranked athlete for 247, and the 5th ranked athlete per ESPN. Of course, this was a Tennessee-Utah battle to the end. Michigan was also involved in this one, Michigan State as well, but nonetheless, it was a Tennessee-Utah battle. So, what's he going to bring to the table? Well, he's 6'2", 175 pounds. There's a lot to like about him in the defensive backfield. There's a lot to like about him at wide receiver, and obviously Tennessee's bringing him in to play wide receiver. He's listed as an athlete, but he is going to join Tennessee's wide receiver class. And this class is starting to look pretty daggone good once again for Kelsey Pope. So I know a lot of fans have a lot of opinions about Kelsey Pope, and right, wrong, and different. That's anyone's prerogative, and that's fine. But what you can't dispute is he's been recruiting really well here lately. Okay, go back to Mike Matthews in the previous cycle. Legend Bay, big time recruiting win for Tennessee and for Kelsey Pope. Tyree King, his stock just continues to rise. One of the best wide receivers in the class over here nearby Knoxville Catholic, and now Salesi Moa adding to that mix. And oh yeah, you still have Tristan Keys potentially that is going to be on Tennessee Flip Watch for quite some time, right? So you're doing a really good job from a recruiting landscape. And you look at this class now overall, and this class is starting to turn really, really good. 23 commits for Tennessee, is moved up 12 spots in the national rankings, or excuse me, up to number 12 in the national rankings. So still right around there at the top 10. If you get a Savion Hyder, if you get a Tristan Keys, you're going to catapult yourself in there to the top 10 for sure, right? But you're at number 12 right now following the commit. You move up 2 spots to number 6 in the SEC. And now you have 5 top 100 prospects in your class. Faison Brandon, who's the 11th ranked prospect in the class, according to the Rivals industry rankings. Salesi Moa, who's now at 46. Okay, he becomes your second highest ranked commit in the class. Joel Wyatt, who just committed earlier this week, right? He now becomes your third. He was at number 2. So in the span of a week, Tennessee has produced two of its top 3 prospects in the class so far. So Mo is there at 2. Wyatt is now there at number 3. Braden Rouse is at number 4. He's at 94 overall. TJ White is the 5th highest ranked prospect. He's at 96 according to the Rivals industry rankings. And so you now have 5 players who are inside the top 100. That's pretty good. And oh yeah, Tyree King, who I was just singing the praises of, he comes in there at 128, the Rivals industry rankings. And then there's Gabriel Ascenda, who's at 226 in the Rivals industry rankings. So far up because, nationally, not a high ranking for ESPN or Rivals, but at 247 Sports, Gabriel Ascenda's up at number 19 overall. So again, this is just a really, really talented class. And yeah, at one point in time, you could say top heavy a little bit, but it's getting deeper. Ascenda obviously is well thought of by the 247 site, more so than the other two, but he's ranked highly up there. I think Zach Groves is going to be a good player. He's a top 300 prospect. Darion Albert, a defensive tackle, is a top 300 prospect. JB Shabazz just over the 300 threshold, but number 65 from Rivals alone. So just like Gabriel Ascenda, where he was 19 per 247, Rivals, where 247 and ESPN don't have Shabazz ranked in the national rankings in the top 247 or top 300, whatever they do. Rivals 300, he's the number 65. And so it's pretty much the inverse of what Gabriel Ascenda was. So it just goes to show you, depending on where you look, man, these Tennessee prospects in this class, very, very well thought of. Zayden Anderson is a top 330 prospect. Legend Bay, who we already mentioned. Kedrick Golston, inside the top 500. So any way you want to spin it. And again, there's some sleepers down here that I think can be really, really good down the line. The staff loves C.J. Edwards. Can't wait to get C.J. Edwards here on campus. I think the staff really, really likes Ed Baker. He is Tennessee's lowest ranked recruit. I know the offensive line personnel and the staff and Ellerby and his guys really, really like Ed Baker. I think KJ McClain can turn into something down the line for sure. So I'm liking this class. And, somebody was even messaging me yesterday and was asking, because it was a question on the mailbag pod for VolQuest, if you could have one or the other, Savion Hyder or Tristan Keys, who would it be? And all of us kind of answered, well, it would probably be Tristan Keys, because Tennessee's proven that they can run the football with anybody. And we think that would make more of a difference. But anyway, if you could get one of those two in the boat, you're looking at yourself, solidifying yourself into a top 10 class in the country. So yeah, this has potential to be one of the best classes for Josh Heupel, currently sitting at number 12 in the Rivals industry rankings. You look at the 2025 class, Tennessee finished at 11th. Of course, the high-end guys, David Sanders, Isaiah Campbell, Desan Brain, Marion Dodd, Travis Smith, so on and so forth. You look at 2024's rankings, Tennessee finished 13th. That was headlined by Jordan Ross, Mike Matthews. You look at 2023 rankings, headlined by Nico. Tennessee finished 12th. Again, I like that one too. David Hobbs was in that one. A 5-star as well. And then you go back to 2022, technically his first recruiting class, and that was with James Pierce and Tyree West and so on and so forth. So really, really good looking class, and it got even better. The second highest ranked prospect in the class now for Tennessee, a 4-star, number 46 in the country, athlete who's going to play wide receiver here at the University of Tennessee, Salesi Moa, commits to the University of Tennessee over Utah, who was the obvious favorite in this recruitment. All right, so big win for Tennessee. What did we see from Tennessee on the practice field Thursday morning? That's coming up next. We continue on here. It is your Friday morning Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day isn't always easy. That's why I've been loving some Drip Drop. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for faster hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. Again, I'm not in classes anymore, but I'm over on campus every day with fall camp. 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. I'm there for multiple hours at a time. It is so freaking hot here in East Tennessee. Hydration is key, and that's where Drip Drop comes in handy for me. It helps me. I think it can help you as well. Try Drip Drop today. Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head on over to dripdrop.com and use that promo code LockedOnCollege. That is dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard and keeps on coming, because it's already hit hard at dripdrop.com. Thursday morning was fall practice number 2 for Tennessee football here in the camp season, and we talked a little bit about what fall camp practice number 1 looked like on Wednesday morning. Talked about the quarterbacks, how they didn't show an awful lot, but if we had to choose who kind of was the winner of the viewing period, probably Jake Merklinger. None of the 3 would have won the Heisman that day. I don't think it was the best practice for any of the 3, but it was practice number 1. I mean, you can't expect everybody to be, in midseason form on day number 1 of fall camp. But nonetheless, probably give advantage Jake Merklinger that day. Day 2, I would give advantage to Joey Aguilar. We'll start with the quarterbacks right here before hitting on some other topics from what I saw in practice number 2. I thought the overall the quarterback play was a little bit better. Again, we don't see an awful lot. Always have to throw this disclaimer out there because they say, well, he goes to practice. We see just a couple of minutes, okay? So there's a lot that we don't see. But they did open it up a little bit more. They threw it a little bit longer down the field, still more short to intermediate throws, but they did run some play-action boots and, have the quarterbacks rolling out. And that's where I thought Joey Aguilar really separated himself significantly from the other 2. They rolled out to the right, play action, boot out, roll out to the right, play action, boot out, roll out to the left. All 3 of those guys right-handed, throwing across your body, running to your left, throwing across your body. And I thought that's where the experience, the game playing experience and game repping experience of Joey Aguilar came in. There was one on an out route, throwing across your body, rolling out to the left, hit him right on the money. Did a really, really good job. On that one specifically, Jake Merklinger skipped it, and George McIntyre overthrew his intended target. And again, early in camp, quarterbacks miss high release point. Young quarterbacks especially miss high. That's normal. I thought Jake Merklinger was fine. I don't think he was as accurate. I thought he had a little bit of a stretch there, kind of midway through our viewing period where he kind of struggled for 3 or 4 reps in a row. But overall, I thought he was fine. I thought George McIntyre, and speaking with some people, after we left the media viewing period on practice number 1, George McIntyre apparently had a really good day. So really trying to make this a true 3-man battle, right? Because everybody, I think Joey Aguilar is going to win the job, okay, out of camp. A lot of people think that already, think that he's just the guy. A lot of people think that George McIntyre's not in this. It's a 3-man battle right now, certainly trying to solidify that, no doubt. So I think Joey Aguilar looked better. He continues to have the best footwork of the 3. Merklinger continues to look really good throwing the football, much better than where he was this time last year. George McIntyre is going to be a really good football player one day. Got the intelligence. He's got the build, got to put on a ton of weight. He's already put on a significant amount of weight, and I don't see how that's possible because he's so small, but he's got to put on some more weight and everything. But he's got good mobility. He's got good arm strength. He's already played in a ton of different systems at the high school level. I think George McIntyre's got it, Probably not going to be good enough to win the job out of camp here as a true freshman, and that's okay. But down the line, I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. So I like what I saw from Joey Aguilar on Thursday morning. I thought he did a pretty good job, right? To the offensive line, Bennett Warren was practicing some left tackle. Jesse Perry got some reps at right guard with the first team. David Sanders was checking out right tackle as normal. Of course, that's where he's going to start if he stays healthy. I thought Mike Matthews and Radarius Jackson just continue to look really, really good, man. They don't look like freshmen. They don't talk like freshmen either. They met with us in the media yesterday, and they carry themselves the right way. They say the right things. They act like they're some veterans, right? And so that's a really, really good thing. Desan Brain really stood out to me. It's like every time, and maybe this was just coincidence, but it's like every time I'll pick my head up from taking notes, he was catching a football. He is so good in space, and he met with us in the media after practice. He said the inline stuff, the physicality, that's just a day by day process. He's working through that, trying to get better at it each day by day. Darrell Sims, very, very high on Deshaun Bishop, on Peyton Lewis, praising those guys throughout practice when they did a good rep. Quarterbacks and running backs were connecting for some routes out of the backfield, and Deshaun and Star Thomas looked really, really comfortable in that role. Again, we say this every spring or every fall camp, the first couple of days when they rep passes out of the backfield. We'd love to see that incorporated in the offense a little bit more, but it just never really is. But nonetheless, those are some of the offensive highlights. Defensively, just a lot of technique stuff. Backers under the cage, stance and steps, going and hitting the tackling sleds, creating some separation. Defensive linemen, bag drills underneath the cages. Defensive backs, safeties and stars, corners working separately and doing a lot of space work and backpedaling, high pointing the football, stick and drive, just a lot of that stuff. And Colton Hood continues to work at corner. Jalen McMurray is working at star. Edwin Spillman, going back to linebacker, Edwin Spillman got a lot of one-on-one coaching from William Inge. I'll say a lot. I mean, I saw it a couple different times walking over there, talking to him specifically. Edwin Spillman's going to be a player for Tennessee. It doesn't matter. I think we get too caught up in the whole, is he a starter or not? Like, defense is rotation. Like, Edwin Spillman might not be a starter. Like, that's Arian Carter and Jeremiah Thielander, but Edwin Spillman, as long as he's healthy, he's going to play just as many snaps than Jeremiah Thielander probably, right? He's going to be a good one. So those were some of the big stuff that I saw from practice on Thursday morning. A quick Boo Carter update. When we were walking out to the field, he looked like he was doing some type of running. He had on the little GPS tracker thing. It looked like he was doing some type of running. Again, he was stretching with the team, didn't have a helmet on, was in jersey and shorts. But when the team started official practice, he wasn't with the team. He went into the weight room or somewhere else in the complex. So kind of the same plan for the most part that we saw on Monday, or excuse me, on Wednesday, practice number 1. But Boo Carter we saw him doing some type of running there before practice started. And then of course he was stretching with the team. But again, he is not out on the field. He is not going through individual workouts with the team yet. Will that change when they, today's an off day? Will that change tomorrow when we're at practice, or Sunday, or maybe Tuesday, or one of those days next week? We'll see. But for right now, Boo Carter is continually not working, in terms of practice right now. Josh Heupel said he's got the things he needs to do before he gets back on the field with Tennessee, and certainly he's looking to do just that. Jamal McCoy, obviously not practicing, but he was out there doing some stuff and, off to the side before practice started. Of course, he's, recovering from a torn ACL. Chris Brazzell didn't practice. Expect him to be back on the practice field at some point next week. I made note of this in the VolQuest practice report because I didn't the other day, but Jamal Wallace and Nathan Robinson, both those guys missed significant portions of spring ball. Both those guys defensive tackles, and their health and lack of durability at points in times really prompted Tennessee to go out and get Josh Snell from the transfer portal from Glenville State. But Jamal Wallace and Nathan Robinson both practicing with the defensive line, so that's a good sign. I think the staff likes them both and think both those guys can play. But anyway, I would say the story of practice number 2, Joey Aguilar looked really, really good out of the pocket. And maybe that can be a part of his game. If he is the guy for Tennessee, that'd be really, really cool to watch that unfold. All right, to conclude a Friday show, we're going to take a look at our Scouting the Opponent series and really channel in on the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State University. That's coming up next as we continue on here at your Friday Locked On Vols. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not about dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes going to concerts, getting those tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and sometimes you can save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Obviously not just talking about concerts here. It's sporting events. Football at Neyland Stadium, baseball at Lindsey Nelson, basketball at the Food City Center. You can buy those tickets on the Gametime app. Smokies downtown at Covenant Health Ballpark. You can buy those tickets on the Gametime app, and I can buy them here in Knoxville. You can buy them probably wherever you're listening or watching this show from as well. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and sporting event tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. That is last-minute tickets. That is lowest price, guaranteed. Hey guys, welcome back to your Friday Locked On Vols. Segment number 3 coming up. Scouting the opponent with ETSU week number 2. That in just a second. I do want to take a quick word. Hey, fan favorite of the show, friend of the show, Boogie Bentley. Of course, he's the host and operator of the Talking Vols Network. You guys know we do collaborations all the time. Just had one with the Tennessee Vol player draft last week. He comes on this show Friday mornings. I go on his show typically Monday mornings during football season. Well, Boogie put out there on Twitter that he had some issues with the storms here in East Tennessee the last week or so, that his basement flooded. And, of course, downstairs in his basement is where he has his studio. So it's a mess right now, man, and I hate that for him. For somebody that does a show and operates and works out of my own house, I don't know where I would be, head spinning. I was talking with him, such is life. It's what he said, and I said, yeah, it doesn't make it any less aggravating. So just want to think about Boogie during this time. There's nothing out there. I don't think there's anything out there that like help financially right now or anything. If there is, I'll let you guys know if you feel inclined or anything like that. But I do encourage you that if you're watching on YouTube right now or you're listening, please go over to the Talking Vols Network and subscribe to his channel. That in the end of the day, that's how he makes a living. That helps. Become a member of his YouTube channel, just like you are right here on Locked On Vols. Please, if you're not subscribed here, please do. But I encourage you guys to go over there and subscribe and join his channel as well, because he and his team do a great job too. So a lot of you guys, tune in, listen to Boogie on this show on Friday mornings. Will continue during football season. I just kind of want to pass that along because got dealt a tough hand there with some of the flooding that's affecting his house right now. So it's really, really unfortunate. And if we can do anything to help him out, at minimum, let's go over there and sub to his channel. That'd be a big help for sure. So thank you guys for that. Just wanted to pass that along here. Scouting the opponent. Let's take a look at the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. Week number 2, the home opener for the Volunteers. And this will only be the second all-time meeting between the two programs, which is so hard to believe. Yes, I know ETSU football program was disbanded there for, 15, 16, 17 years or whatever. Like, it was there when I was little, and then it went away for a long time and just came back, a couple years ago. I guess it was sometime around 2016, 17. I don't know. It was out when I was, just finishing up college maybe. But anyway, only the second all-time meeting. That's kind of hard to believe. But nonetheless, this will be the first time since 2018's meeting. 59 to 3, the final score at Neyland Stadium. That was the lone time these two programs have squared off. And what is the significance in that 59 to 3 win over ETSU in 2018? Well, that was the first win of the Jeremy Pruitt era. Not many more wins followed, especially after the vacation of some of those wins. But nonetheless, the first win of the Jeremy Pruitt era was the only other time Tennessee has played ETSU. But that's going to happen again. Week number 2 of the season's the home opener. And ETSU had several different coaches. Of course, Randy Sanders kind of revitalized that program, brought it back. It was really at the core. Carl Torbush, of course, was the first coach to kind of get that started. Randy Sanders, took it over. 2 SoCon titles for Randy Sanders, 2 FCS playoff appearances. But since then, it's been a number of different guys, number of different coaches, couple, 2, 3 of them. Last year in 2024, you had Trey Lamb, who came in, had some success. I think they went 7-5. But then he took the job at Tulsa this offseason. So in comes Will Healy, formerly of Austin Peay one time, has spent time at Charlotte as a head coach, spent time with Gus Malzahn at UCF, spent time most recently last year. I want to say, I forgot where he was. It was somewhere in the Power 4 game. But maybe Auburn, I can't remember. But nonetheless, only 40 years old, been around the block, he's got a lot of success as a coach and a coordinator and all that. He is the head coach now at ETSU, and there's been a lot of turnover, obviously. 22 players from the transfer portal is what they announced in February. And I think they added some more during the spring window. So a lot of players out, a lot of players coming in, no doubt. Obviously, you've got an offense last year that was pretty good. Second in the SoCon with 406 yards per game. Led the league in rushing. Did a really, really good job in that regard. But, your quarterback, Jalen King, he left for Florida State. Your running back, your leading rusher, Bryson Irby, is no longer with the program. Defensive lineman, an all-SoCon selection, Jalen George. He transferred to Nebraska. You've got leading tackler, Ray Corey. He transferred to Tulsa. So a lot of players left via the program, followed Trey Lamb to Tulsa, or just left via the program in general. They did bring in a lot of new guys, though. Cade McNamara, the former, that guy, I know I butchered his last name, but he was a part of a 2-quarterback battle there in 2021, led Michigan to CFP, was with Iowa as well, did not play against Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl a couple years ago, but he's been around the block a time or two. Again, starting quarterback at 2 Power 4 programs and has played in the college football playoff. How he ended up at East Tennessee State, that's wild, but that's obviously a big transfer portal acquisition over the offseason. Also, get this one, quarterback battle, Jacoby Criswell. He was at North Carolina for 3 seasons, transferred to Arkansas, where he spent 2 seasons, played hardly any football, and then transferred back to North Carolina for last year, where he was the starting quarterback. He passed for 2,459 yards, threw for 15 touchdowns. Now he's at ETSU. So you have 2 experienced starting Power 4 quarterbacks that are going to be battling it out to win the job for ETSU this fall. So at worst case, it's going to be pretty good at the quarterback position for that level in the SoCon, no doubt. But those are 2 of the big additions via the offseason. Linebacker Drew Francis transferring in from MTSU. He is a Knoxville native, and Drew Francis, the son of VFL quarterback Jeff Francis. Did you know that? So there's a little tie-in to the Tennessee, a little Tennessee tie-in there. Drew Francis coming back to Knoxville to play at the University of Tennessee with ETSU after transferring in from MTSU. Linebacker Trevor Moffitt coming in from Appalachian State. Jamari Forner from Indiana, also a linebacker. A couple other key additions. Offensive personnel, again, I mentioned second in the league, 406 yards per game a season ago, led the league in rushing. They do bring back 3 of their top 4 wide receivers, and Aheem Magert, 427 yards receiving. Kerryon Page, 373 yards receiving. Ephraim Floyd, 326 yards receiving. Bring back an experienced tailback as well, not the leading rusher, but an experienced tailback in Devontae Houston, who rushed for nearly 700 yards a season ago. Up front, they got to replace 4 starters on the offensive line. So that's obviously going to be noteworthy. Linebacker, they bring back Ty Anderson, who had 40 tackles. Edge rusher, second on the team a season ago with 6.5 sacks. That is Nick Hunter, bringing him back, and starting cornerback Jimmy Boundary coming back as well. Defense last year was really, really good. Again, ETSU was good last year. Only 7-5, 5-3 conference record, but it was really explosive offensively and defensively. They were number 1 in the SoCon, allowed only 309 yards per game. They averaged only 110 yards on the ground, giving up. Not bad at all. 200 yards through the air. So much, much, much better defending the run than the pass, but still pretty sound, pretty solid defense in 2024 as well. But this is a completely different ball club. New schemes, third new scheme. This will be the 3rd new coaching staff, a 3rd new system in as many seasons. So that's got to be stressful. That's got to be tough. But Tennessee should have no problems with ETSU week 2 of the season for the home opener at Neyland Stadium. All right. That is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Every dayers couldn't do the show without you. I really, really do appreciate you in that regard. No Throwback Thursday segment this week. Maybe we'll have it over the weekend. If not, we'll just wait till next week. Noah Taylor was out on vacation this past week, so maybe there'll be a bonus content over the weekend, hopefully. If not, we'll just wait till next Thursday. But I know a lot of you guys have been liking that segment, so don't worry. It's coming back. No, it was just out of pocket this past week. Everybody have a safe and enjoyable weekend, and we'll continue to talk Tennessee football fall camp first and next week. This is Locked On Vols.